Right then, GTA San Andreas fans, this is yet another one of the things that's been on the list for longer than I can remember. So I either completely forgot that there was a Codebreaker file, or quite literally never used the Codebreaker file just because it is NTSC only. So, as usual, the videos are unedited, but they will be informative, rather unlike the copy-paste bullshit that you see online when you Google, for example, PS2 Codebreaker ISO. So, I'll just go through it all step by step. You'll see the issue as you go through, but basically, as far as I can tell, there is a bug with the Codebreaker thing. So I'm going to do everything from scratch because that's literally the only way to do it. Because once the bug occurs, it becomes somewhat unsolvable. As far as I can tell, it actually corrupts the memory card. So, the first thing we're going to do is remove the memory card. Now, it's been a long time since I've organized my stuff, so we're just going to back up this massive amount of crap. We're just going to do that. Okay, so no memory cards in there. We've got a backup. We're using this version of PCSX2, which is 1.6.0. We'll go to my folder and backups and put the memory cards in there. Okay, now we're going to need a few things. So first thing I shall do is take off the microphone and turn on my router because I just realized I haven't. Okay, so remember people, patience is a virtue, although saying that, in all honesty, never being able to solve these little issues is, has just made the whole project a complete waste of fucking time, really. Anyway, right, what we're going to do is, we'll cover as many issues as we can, as well as the actual issue that I'm trying to cover, which is Codebreaker. So, first of all, historically speaking, bearing in mind that I haven't done anything with the PlayStation stuff in over 10 years, with the exception of GTA, and haven't really learned anything new. If you just dump your DVD regularly, then sometimes it doesn't work. It doesn't matter whether you use it on PlayStation, hacks, or FMCB, or Emulator, or anything. Anyway, rebuild your ISOs with imgburn default settings and they will always boot on the emulator. Now the PS3 dump is 397392 and dump with imgburn just from the PC is 397376. So the files are identical, they are just different sizes, and obviously we don't need the actual Q file, so once that comparison is done you'll see that they're the same. Now, San Andreas, Japan, we're not going to focus on because all of the files are completely different. However, we can use all of these NTSC version 1 files with PAL version 1. Now, you can actually drag and drop all the files into the folder, which is great. They're all renamed and it's got a separate reference within the ELF file. You only need the American GT, which is the same as the PAL version. So if you were to just use this ISO on its own, you could delete all the other language files. And the movies are also different names, and as well as encoded differently with, I think it was like TMP PC or TMP encoder or something like that. I can't remember what they used years ago, but I do know that when Rockstar were using that software, they were using the bugged version at one point in Vice City. Anyway, so yeah, you can also transfer the models over because the only thing that's in there that you need really is the texture loading, because one's for the UK and one's for the CS. So that's done. As you can see, these files are identical, so they're all perfect dumps. Original thing. Now, Codebreaker, you'll have to go online, and if my router's booted it up, then what you can do is search for PS2 Codebreaker ISO, and you're not actually looking for the ISO. This is just the method rather than the file that we're searching for. So there's a Google Drive one there for 11, which I have not tested, and it's probably not even 11 anyway. There's a cool ROM version here, which is obviously basically just a piracy website or whatever. However, as far as I know, Codebreaker is actually something that this must be a community hacked version or something, hence the bugs. There's a couple of tutorials there, blah blah blah. Eventually you'll get the ISO. If you're really lucky, you'll be able to find like the tutorial, so you can actually see GTA forums showing up there with my most recent post, and also my old post is indexed on Google as well, even though that's no longer there, which is a bit weird. So whatever, find your files wherever the fuck they are. If they do come in an ISO with a 2 GB dummy file in here, you don't need it. You just need to burn this as a bin.q. And you don't even need the queue either, actually. So it'll look something like that when you boot it up. Okay, cool. So that's that done. Then once you've got your folder created, it'll look something like this. So you've got your USA, your UK. I've patched one of the L's to run at 60 Hz, but it will display completely and utterly fucked on the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation. Well, maybe not PlayStation 2. It might work perfectly, but haven't yet tested this on a PS2 console because, the testing's not complete. Anyway, so there's your boot, and there's your Codebreaker.elf. So long-winded 5-minute tutorial there, but at least you know that there's discrepancies with the backups, there's issues with the way that people tell you to do stuff with Codebreaker online, yada yada yada. Now, is this removal of the 2 GB dummy file and not using a DVD and switching from CD to DVD causing an issue? I do not know. I have absolutely no idea. What I do know is that you cannot boot up the multi-region DVD and boot into ulaunch.elf and then Codebreaker because, quite simply, it won't work. You can't do that on an emulator for some reason. I don't think you can do it on the latest emulator, and you can't do it on PCSX2 1.6. Anyway, so the first thing we're going to do is clear our list. We're going to select our ISO, so we're gonna boot this. Now it is going to be a complete pain in the ass, but what we're going to have to do is, if you've downloaded the modkit folder or like the Vice City modkit folder or something similar, or any of my mods before, you'll get used to the folder layouts and how things are done. So in the cheats folder there's currently a MASTERCODE file, and I've actually left all of the junk in there, which I normally remove just in case it's useful. But this is the text file that we're currently working off. So we don't have a memory card. So what we're going to do is go, where is it? No disk, boot BIOS, memory card, config, create a new one, and we're going to go Codebreaker test. Okie dokie dokie, insert it, boom, done. Then we're gonna speed up the emulator, and we're gonna format the memory card, and then we're gonna go back. Okay, so that's that done. We're gonna shut down, and then we're gonna go to ISO selector, back to our Codebreaker. Alright, and obviously you know what's going to happen. We're going to try and convert the NTSC codes to PAL. So we're going to press R2 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, 9 times, sorry. And then we're going to go down. Okay, yeah, maybe it is 10 times. Right, so we've got NTSC version 1.1, and then all of these, I'm assuming, NTSC as well. What a surprise, because for 20 fucking years, there's never been any PAL support. So press circle, and because it's a complete fucking pain in the ass to do this, we're just going to go GTA, SA, PAL version 1. So far I've noticed that what's happening is, first of all, when I did eventually get what must have been a MASTERCODE and therefore cheat code working, which was increased money, that did work. Infinity Health did not work, and I've never been able to port the Infinity Health code from NTSC to PAL either, which is extremely bizarre, because obviously I've done 99% of the other codes. So a few things like that happened. Also, there was an instance where spawning a vehicle caused the wrong vehicle to spawn, which was weird because at that point I don't even think a MASTERCODE was working, or if it was, I wouldn't have known because of this bug. So for the cheat, we're going to do enable code. Now, I have no idea how Codebreaker works. There's no source for it, there's no notes on the author for it, there's no notes on the author that may have modified the original file if this is it, or this could have been created by the original people, because as we all know, that is how the PlayStation scene goes. All of the hackers and the website runners and everything else are the people that are making money from all the zombies going to their little stores. They say it's nothing to do with piracy, but obviously they're profiting off an IP that they don't own. So when there's a lack of, for example, PAL support, it's pretty much a natural assumption then that therefore everybody will be forced to go to NTSC. So when you go to these websites and ask for help and they don't help you, they're inadvertently increasing the risk of people sort of being more likely to go towards the download and use of other files. So this is going to be a complete pain in the ass to type in the code. You are going to have to listen to all the rants. If you do obviously choose to just skip through the entire video and just look at every minute or so, it's probably going to be to your detriment, because you won't know when the bug occurs, what step is right and what step is wrong. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're going to save that with just 5 blank lines. And the first thing we're going to do is check whether there's a bug at this stage or not. So I believe it should return to the menu. Yep, with no codes enabled, because we haven't enabled them. Now, this is where you can possibly replicate one of the bugs, because if you shut down and reboot, that code that you just entered will then automatically be enabled for, well, no idea. It's just what happens. So I've seen this happen a bunch of times, which means something weird is happening with the boot process. Anyway, obviously it's a complete nightmare to do this without the ability to copy and paste. However, what we can do for now is actually boot up the San Andreas enable code must be on for NTSC. And what you'll notice is that these 3 lines do not change in NTSC version 2. Okay, so when you go back and then check this, they'll be the same. Now the lines that do change are the 1, 2, 3, 4 at the bottom. And this is where it gets interesting, because this is how it's always been with codes, because nobody's ever checked them and ever uses them. Right. These last 2 lines are just addresses and then values, and those addresses followed by the values just have the default value stored in them. So unless something's being passed into those, which I wouldn't understand how that could happen, these 2 lines at the bottom essentially do nothing. Now, as far as I'm aware, these 2 above it, so the last 4 lines in total, are all address value lines, and again, they don't actually change. They are just left by default. Yeah, which means only one of these first 3 lines works, and then that doesn't change between versions, so I assume it would not have to change between regions. Anyway, we're going to go down to the 4th line, and what I've done is finally come up with some sort of fucking fuck around after a million years to come up with this. So we're going to enter here the FAB line. So we got F, A, B, A, C, B, 9, 7. And that's F, B6909 or D. Okay, so that's done correctly. That's updated. And then we're just going to edit the last 3 lines. So we'll just try and fly through those. And, you know, you can't believe the fucking OBS Studio. Might not be up to date, but it's 30.2.3. The infamous app that's only ever worked properly since, like, version 3 or 0.3 or something stupid like that. There's no fucking pause button on it. So there's yet another rant related to everything that's happened from just trying to do GTA fucking bullshit. I don't even know why I'm bothering using it really. Like it hasn't got a pause button, so it's just fucking retarded. Right. C4 5 E6 to 7B. Alright. Well, we're making our way through it. Nothing's crashed so far. Obviously, if we were doing this on a PlayStation 3 console, that's kind of sucky. Now, there may be a way to just import this as a memory card or swap the file or do some hacky thing, or some people might know some quicker ways of doing it. But what should happen now, I know I haven't done the last line, but what should happen now is we're going to update the memory card, save over the last changes that we've done, which means that if anybody had tested the bug that I mentioned about earlier, where when you reload, it says one cheat selected like this, you can now see this enable code is, for some reason, automatically selected. So when we boot up now, we could, for the second test, if you were to shut down and boot back up, you could see which code gets enabled and which one doesn't, and you could see if there's a discrepancy and if there is a bug in it, because I assume what happened is you're actually going to have 2 games enabled at this point. Now, obviously, I haven't demonstrated that bug to you yet, so you're probably wondering what I'm going on about, unless you've already tested it yourself, which would have been sensible, because then you wouldn't have to watch all this crappy nonsense. You will see what I'm referring to. Okay, so that should be all the lines updated, but again, my assumption is that these 4 lines don't, these 3 lines at least don't fucking do anything. This E here, I'm pretty sure the way it works is if you remove the 9, you remove the E, then these 2 can become addresses that you can find similar to these. And you can put a 20 and 20 there. Then you need to update this side and this side. So I believe it goes address, value. So we need to find the new address and the new value for PAL version 1 compared to NTSC. Then I believe this is a comparison of do something -1 maybe, or take away 1, fuck knows. And then this is also an address, so you can put a 20 tuba there, and then you can find this address, so that'll be different to that address. And then again, so it's address, value, instruction, address, address, value, address, value. So we'll start that, we'll save it. We should now have NTSC with an updated code, master code, which reflects PAL. It should also mean that we can now enable cheats enable that code, and we can go say quick money game. Now quick money, just to demonstrate how to convert the codes, we know that this is going to be the NTSC code, and we know that we've got our PAL code. So if you boot up OmniConvert, put it into Codebreaker 7 mode and output it as raw, and then type this here, this should give us the NTSC version And what you'll notice is if you do the math to compare NTSC to PAL, you'll come up with our plus 100 hex offset. Now this is something that can be applied to, in my experience, only within this game, because the offsets usually dramatically change amongst game versions and regions. With GTA we get quite lucky and this offset works, as I said, 99% of the time. However, $60AB 3D B, okay, 9, and then 006381B9, and then 7D7793F4, and 718B9102. Okay, so this is now our infinite money cheat, apparently. Quick money game. That's a bit of a weird one. We don't want that. We want max money. That's the one we want to do. There we go. Okay. What a fucking nightmare. So I'm just gonna do this. I'm just gonna, yeah, just do this just to make it easier. So I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna put it there. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna put it there. We're setting it to 10,000 for now. So we start with 10,000 cash. We're going to put the input as standard, we're going to put the output as Codebreaker version 7, and we're going to convert it. So we can see that's different to that. That's the one that we need to enter in there. I'm going to generate that code there by doing this. So we take off 100 hex, convert it, and it ends up as that, interestingly enough. So if we try it with a 1, we get that. This is fucking weird, isn't it? So why is the offset different in Codebreaker compared to PNACH? Because we know that this hex 100 thing converts over. We've done it a million times. We've got it there. There's an 848 and there's a 748. This leaves us with only one option. Go back, Codebreaker, and as you can see, this is exactly why we document everything. Just for, you know, there may not be one person that experiences all of the issues, but what's likely to happen is there'll be thousands of people that experience each individual one that's covered in this video. So let's make sure we type it all in accurately. Does it need to be in capital letters? I don't know anymore. There's so many questions and variables, it just becomes a waste of time, even guessing. Right, so we convert that. Boom. And there you go. That is now converted over to this, which is that, which is exactly the same as this. Even though I just did it again. Maybe I did type something different. No, this is a different money one in there. Yeah, okay, so there's the difference between those two. Strange use of codes there. And as you can see, where I changed the 6 before, this has worked. So if I now change that to a 7, like that, that should be the same, that should be the same, they're the same, they're the same. Oh, it's because of the 10,000 value. I'm so foolish. There we go, worked it out. So we get input, standard, raw, Codebreaker, version 7, convert, and this is what we should now have. For fuck's sake. So let's fucking enter this in then. So we should now have max money doing this. 00 DD B. It might be a good idea to actually start the game and make a save file for that game first. Yeah, because the game does detect whether there's a presence of a game on the memory card, and Codebreaker injects stuff prior to the game booting. It's could be an issue. I'm pretty sure that's correct. We're going to do the next one, and everybody at this point after 20 fucking 5 minutes. Ridiculous. It's probably thinking, what the fuck, man? So, 4, 6, 2, dead or alive. 3, 8, 08, EF. Right, finally, we've got max money and the MASTERCODE updated. The MASTERCODE's called an enable code, so if there's something to do with the title, which I can't imagine it would be, causing issues, then that's done. You've got San Andreas, enable code, and max money, 2 cheats selected. Boom. Right, we finally get to the point where we can boot up our disk. And we're actually going to make a save state here called test1. And then we're going to browse for our original. Okay. Because what was happening was this was all working perfectly yesterday. And now, apparently it's not. So the game is booted. Understand that the save files that I started with at the beginning that I removed had the exact thing that we've just done. Only it was crashing. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was infuriating me because I'd literally just made a post asking for help. Then thought I'd solved it myself and removed that post, then booted it back up and everything crashed. So I am running at 640 by 512, apparently, because that's the way that the game runs. We've got full Cachemundo updated, which means the MASTERCODE is working. Our cash money cheat is there. So this is all seems to be good to go. And again, I will note that one problem where converting the cheats doesn't always work every single time. Some of them won't end up as the correct cheat. The cash money one I know works. The infinity health one I could not do and could not update and could not port. That was not working, and I don't know why. It's a bit of a weird one. So there's over 3,500 cheats listed in the Codebreaker. That's a massive problem in and of itself. We've got, for PAL, technically we have more codes available for PAL now than we've ever had for NTSC in the past. Which means we could replicate all those 3,500, but obviously a lot of them are just like the 400 vehicles that you can spawn, for example, will take up one of them. Not all of these PAL codes have been converted to NTSC, like I have not done that, and not all of the NTSC codes have been converted to PAL, because there's 1 or 2 that I could not do, such as the Infinity Health. What we are able to do is hopefully boot up into our modified main.scm cheat menu and use that, which would be great. But to do so, I'm actually going to exit, reboot, refresh. I'm going to go to this, go to this, go to that, go to that, go to that. And this is just going to be Codebreaker stuff for now. I'm just going to save that. Because it doesn't really need to be there, but I might want to port it into the final file at the end. So we do that. So there's the information for the MASTERCODE. As you can see, we followed it exactly as I explained it. To figure out version 2, these are going to have to be updated, and the same with Japan. If anybody owns that, they can do that, but let's be honest, since everyone focuses on NDSC anyway, Japan's shit out of luck. But there probably is a community for Japan that's even better for America, and because they get isolated, they just, you know, won't get involved, which is the same thing that's happened in the GTA community, amongst all the websites and everything else. That's actually the reason for these issues occurring. Because they're all at wars with each other, or everyone else, basically. You know, people ask for help and they just have a go with them. Now, this is getting set to 59.82. I don't understand why there's a discrepancy with the A, the resolution, and B, the interlace, since this apparently is, it fluctuates. So sometimes it gets set to 0.3, sometimes it gets set to 0.6, and this could be causing the issue. Right, so we've booted up, we've got 2 cheats automatically selected, which is 100% correct, as we should have had it before. This is all working. Now, we shouldn't have to do anything, because we know that those 2 cheats are the ones that we wanted enabled. So we now just need to go ISO selector, browse, and we need to try and boot our custom ISO. So we'll do that. Now, if this doesn't work, the only difference would be the dumping process of the original disk. And again, bearing in mind, I have a save file that we started off at the very beginning of this that is identical to the processes and changes that we just made, but it crashes. And that was the save file that I uploaded, and that was literally after everything was working. So we've now got our 60 FPS ELF file. We've still running the PAL version 1 NTSC. And this is unique to PCSX2 1.6. It cannot be done on 1.7 plus or 2.0 or anything else. And basically, this is a 60 FPS patch with the window at 640 by 512. It's default. Everything fits perfectly. If you boot this up on the PlayStation 3 using the multi-region plus Codebreaker method, it will result in the screen being offset. Specifically, all of the information on the line is wrong with that as well. What actually happens is it gets offset to the left and up and down, which is weird. I can't remember which direction it was, up or down, to be honest. But it gets offset to the left as well, which is very strange, because you would expect it to just be a Y position issue, but obviously there's an X pos issue there as well. Now you can clean it up, luckily, with the in-game menu, and this is again only available to, well, not necessarily only available to GTA, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's available to all games, because it's a screen position switch in the menu. So if you put this up on PS3, I haven't tested on PS2, this radar will be off down to the bottom. If you just boot it up in PAL without the 60 Hz, then it'll be down and off to the left. The coordinates, the show coordinates, were just for debugging purposes. They don't need to be in the main.scm. You can just comment it out. However, I left it in because the position of it dictates where your offset will also be. So when this bottom of the screen gets cut off here, you will essentially want to go into your menu options, go to the display, go to screen position, and when you move it up and down, blah 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 blah, obviously you can't do it because we're in the emulator or whatever, you're going to want to cut basically the coordinates off. So you're going to want to bring it down to about the top of the timer so you can see the HUD, and then you'll be able to see the bottom of the radar and everything else. Now, just to prove that if you boot up PCSX2 here, and then you go to this is not the latest version, this is 2.4, not the latest 90 build, but there's literally, I mean, I've tried all of them, I've tried millions of them, there's no point fucking updating shit, it never fucking works. So, we're going to boot our multi-region DVD, as you can see, and then we're going to press F4, fast forward, nothing happens. Well, there you go. So, can't do that. We're going to boot up our modified DVD, press F4. There we go. And then it does all of your, we're going to fuck around with the settings that some random people in the community have done, but obviously there's still a hell of a lot of work outstanding, so why would you want to force these issues on people? And as you can see immediately, we've lost the bottom of the screen. We've got our modified top of the screen, but at the bottom of our screen is missing. Okay, so you can see the difference very clearly between how the game looks on default on the brand newest version to this version. Now we don't have cheats running, but if I enable cheats, everything works. And I've just loaded up all of these. So there it is. Now I much prefer this to looking at that. That's not an improvement, that's backwards. So we'll close that, and as you can see, we've got Codebreaker for PAL working. A potentially easy way to just sort of enjoy the game a little bit more, I suppose. I say potentially easy because it's a little bit complex, and obviously took me fucking 35 minutes to do the video. But you've seen the end results for yourself, and you can almost guarantee that the next time when I actually go to play the game or add a new code or something else, that there will be issues that occur. So at this point, you know, we're entirely sensible to shut down, exit, go to PCSX2, and it's 300 megabyte, which is a bit sort of bigger than I'd want it to be, possibly due to save states. Yeah, so what we're going to do is back up our save states. We're going to put that in the save folder, and even though we don't like doing it, we may just have to upload everything. So games, PS2, games, GTA San Andreas, no, Emulator, PCSX2, saves, save states, 6, there you go. I'll do. We can now delete all of this. That should reduce the size. All I need to do is remove my bias from it, because that. And that's another thing as well. When I first dumped the bias, bearing in mind that we would have done this like 20 odd years ago, nobody ever solved, and it literally took months for someone to point out the fact that when you dump your BIOS, it fucking still shows as Japanese. And I'm sure I haven't got a Japanese console because I've owned the console since I was like, it came in a box. Do you know what I mean? Like 20 odd years ago. Anyway, whatever. So games. We got a dedicated PS2 and a dedicated PS3 folder for that now. There we go. That should be fine. I can't see anything else that needs to be done. Again, once you know, I don't distribute things as this giant block of like 1 million gigabyte of stuff. I suppose I might as well just show you what the end results is, because I did make a post of it, but I accidentally deleted the fucking image. So for PS3, you will now end up with something like this. You can ignore these two, because what I've done there is I've used my original DVD to make the original package, and I've used what was the PSN, you know, the version which those bastards sold you the fucking NTSC one, for fuck's sake. But whatever, that actually turned out in my favour, because obviously I'm from the UK, which allowed me to do all of the modding stuff and the comparisons and everything. So we've got a GTA San Andreas multi-region plus Codebreaker plus TKBS, which is the main SCM modified with our cheat menus, which I actually forgot to show. Whatever. We've got our source for this. Now this image here is something quite special, because at the end of the image file, what I've actually done is copy and pasted our Codebreaker save file onto the end of the image file. So when you search for TKBS, it'll come up with this, and then you can extract all of that into a new file, and then save it as a save file. And then when you compare them, you will have your Codebreaker save file. And then obviously with the hex that you don't need, which was the save, you can then delete that and turn this back into an icon PNG. So that's your little display icon and your Codebreaker save file baked in. Now, I did make one for UK and USA, but we don't need those anymore. You also need this as well, just to remind you, so that when you boot up the game, this will show up on the sort of the bottom right hand side. And that's just your main.scm new inputs for the cheat menus. So we can test those buttons. So that's pretty cool. There's a config file, but the config file and information that I have provided can only be used with a default game. So you cannot use the Codebreaker ulaunch method to use the config file, which means on PS3 you will suffer from display issues, lack of pressure sensitivity, and any of the other fixes as well that I've documented and applied there, because as far as I could tell, no one's actually, I mean, it looks like everything's dead in the PlayStation community and has been for ages. In fact, the sweet spot seemed to have been 4.8.4, and I'm sure there'll people will argue against it, but unless you want to like update the Blu-ray kind of data to the drive or the files or Blu-rays running, updating your PlayStation to official firmware anywhere past 4.8.4 is an extremely risky thing to do, even if people say it's stable. There's literally no fucking way for it, because obviously past that point, Sony were, you know, they pretty much know that the console's been fucking hacked to death at that point. And obviously the way that the hackers work is they create their hack and then they use it in their personal community on, say, like version, just for argument's sake, 4.0.1. They wait for 4.0.2 to come out and then see if they can apply the hack to that again. And then if they can, obviously that works, and they can then report that vulnerability to Sony to collect the bounty and the money for it. They can then use that money to set up the websites to post the hack for the older version. And then obviously they can say, look, if you just don't update it, then it doesn't work. And that's the way that they generate their income, from essentially like the only really kind of legal means, even if it is a bit dodgy, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with, you know, essentially helping a company out fix their software for the future. But, you know, both Sony and the developers know that they're doing it intentionally, because they hold on to that information until the next update. Anyway, yeah, there you go. It's all working. It's converted working. It shows there. You won't be able to convert all the codes. You've got your PS3 and your PS2 stuff. To add on top of that, you can also use your hybrid, the mod kit you can download and use the GTA Vice City hybrid version. You may be able to make a multi-disc if you wanted to, with Vice City and disc swapping with San Andreas. I wouldn't bother. I'd keep everything the same. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, I'm just kind of wasting time because I didn't think it would take fucking half hour to do it. I honestly didn't think it would actually work at the end of it, because I thought there would be issues that would crash first and I'd have to fix. I got a lot of cleanup on files and making sure we keep stuff to organize. I suppose if you've watched this entire 45 minutes, I hope some of it was fucking useful to you. Sweet. Peace.